Okay, we're back. Just had to get that processed and loaded up to YouTube. Okay, so part two of capital budgeting. Okay, so we finished off with the MIRR. We did the calculation. Now, so in the previous video, we found the terminal value, which is also the future value of 1,579.50. Okay, so now we need to set up one of those input equations, time value of money, like again we've done all semester. So set up the NIPV, payment, and future. Okay, so the N, the number of periods or number of years in this case, in this problem, that was 4. We are looking for the I, which is now going to be the modified rate. Okay, present is what we've laid out, what we've paid for the project. That's $1,000. Payment doesn't matter, that doesn't come into play, so make that 0. Future is what we came up with, the total of all those future values, so 1579.50. Okay, so let me go back to this for a second. So if we put that through the calculator, look for I, we come up with about 12.11% interest. That is your MIRR. Okay. Now, as a check, just like we've always discussed, should have some way to check a value to make sure it's normal or within range, or you're not totally out, out of the ballpark. So as a checkpoint, we have the cost of capital, we have the internal rate of return, which we figured out earlier, and most recently the MIRR. Now it makes sense, the MIRR should fall somewhere between the cost of capital and the internal rate. So it's a more practical, more reasonable amount. We'll get into the details of that in class, but essentially 14% is what we earned, but it's really much higher than a normal return would be. So that's what we're coming up with, the 12.11%. It's your reinvestment values. So as you're getting those cash flows in the year 1, 2, 3, etc., you're taking that money, investing it while the project goes on, and you probably aren't going to return the 14%. That would be highly unlikely to receive that return. But this is more practical, the 12%, 12.1111. Since it's greater than what we spent, the 10%, that's good. That's a positive number. That's good news. Okay, so the fourth method we're looking at is called the payback period, or the break-even. Pretty simple. Essentially, you are looking at the point that you've received all your payments that you've laid out. So in this example, you can even think of it this way. We are lending somebody $1,000. We're going to pay them back. First year, we'll pay them back $400. Second year, $300. Next year, $300, etc. How long does it take to get paid back? That's one way to look at it. The other way is if you were to invest in a project, it costs $1,000, and you're getting these cash flows over the following subsequent years. When does it break even? How many years does it take to recoup the $1,000? Okay, so $400. Okay, 1 year, $300. Okay, that's $700. So far, we're up to 2 years, and the third year, we got $300 back. That's a total of $1,000. So, simple example. This took 3 years to recoup our money. Okay, so let's look at how we figure that out. Okay, again, we paid $1,000. We're invested in some project. We received some various cash flows over the following years. So we want to see, when do we break even? When do we get what we paid for? When do we get that money back? Okay, so paid $1,000. First year we received $400. Okay, so we have $600 left to recoup. The following year we received $300. Okay, so 3 minus 600. We're still missing $300. The third year we get a $300 payment, and that clears it out. So the payback period, or break even, is a 3-year period. Okay. Now, certainly not complicated, but of course that's not really practical. Normally it's going to fall within the second and third year, or third and fourth year, etc. So it's going to be a partial year. So that's what we're going to figure out here. So for example, if we have a project that paid out $1,500 and we received all these payments, when does it break even? When do we receive that exact $1,500 back? In this case, it's going to fall within one of the years. Okay, so it's going to be a partial year. And we do the same thing that we did before, okay? Except on the last year, we have to figure out that partial period. So we paid out $1,500, we received $500. Okay, we have $1,000 left to recoup. Okay, that's 1 year so far. Second year, we received a $600 payment. 600 minus 1,000. We're still in the hole by 400. Okay, so that's so far year 1 and year 2. Total of 2 years, but we're not finished. The third year, we have $400 to recoup. The third year, we actually get $700, more than we really need. So it's going to be a partial year. And all you have to do is, because we have $400, we received $700, so we're got a plus $300. So how do we come up with that partial year? 400 over the 700, it's 0.57. So it's about a half a year. So we would classify this, we would notate this as the payback period would be 1, 2, plus a partial. So 2.57 years. And that's it. Okay, last method is a discount payback period. Okay, same process, but each amount must be discounted at, remember, the cost of capital to reflect the proper purchasing power. Because think about it, if you lend somebody $1,000 today and they pay you back $1,000 in 2 years, well, that $1,000 in 2 years doesn't have the purchasing power it did in the beginning. So that's what we're trying to capture, that purchasing power. So we're going to take all those amounts, discount them at the present value. So if we have this problem, a 4-year period, I will have to give you the cost of capital is 10%. If you paid out 1,000 and you received these payments, 100, 300, 400, 675, you want to discount each of these at 10% for the number of periods that it's out into the future. So this 100 is $100. We want to discount it at 10% for one period. Basically bring it back to the present, and that would be $91. $300 discounted at 10% for 2 periods is $248. $400 discounted at 3 periods at 10% is $301, and so forth. So these are the new amounts that we have to work with. Okay, they bring in the purchasing power. So if I pay you back, if I owe somebody $100, really, and I pay them in a year, it has a $91 purchasing power. So do the same thing, except we have the new amounts. 1,000 minus 91 is 909. That's 1 year. Year 2, year 3, and again we come to the last year where it's going to be partial. So what we have left, okay, over what we were paid. Okay, 361 over 461 is 0.78. So we actually have the payback period is 1, 2, 3 plus that partial. So 3.78. And that's it. Thank you.